Let's take a look now at the starting lineup for the 67th 24 Hours of Le Mans. The first row, it's all Toyota and the two GT1s, number 1 and 2 respectively. The second row is the BMW, started by Leto, and a Mercedes, the fastest of the Mercedes of Schneider. Row 3, the Panoz, great effort, and a BMW Motorsport factory team car. Row 4, another of the AMG Mercedes, and the third of the Toyota GT1s. Row 5, the Audi R8R, that's the open top, and of course you would have seen Mark Webber in the Mercedes in that 10th starting position. Problems for that car was withdrawn, as we alluded to earlier. Row 6, the other Audi from Yost, the open top car, and the first of the Nissans from Nissan. Field right now working through the Ford chicane. You can see the pace car is in, and they are coming up, and boy, they did not go into much of a formation of side-by-side. We immediately go green. That's a bit of a surprise, and the two Toyotas lead in. The Mercedes is third as they dive into the Dunlop chicane.
And the first of those BMWs poking his nose in there. That's the car of J.J. Leto, but he settles for the 4th spot as they all go through turn 1 cleanly over the hill under the Dunlop bridge. Such a famous picture of Le Mans, that is. The two Toyotas already. Martin Brundle stretching his lead as he goes into the S's, all nice and wide, lots of run-up area now. Didn't have this in our day. Then the two Mercedes behind him. That Mercedes snuck around the BMW. There's the 6 and the 5 car. Right behind him, the J.J. Leto car. And look at that, the Panoz just behind them.
Panoz right there, and that start by the Mercedes now running in 4th. An awesome start by, I think that was Peter Dumbrek, and the starting car, number 5, jumped from 7th into 4th. Gives you an idea, again, of the importance of running up front early in this event. A great start. Last year we saw that huge start by the BMW. The Mercedes has done it here.
Sweep after that, which takes you down to where Webber crashed on Thursday evening. The Mercedes giving that second Toyota there a tough run for its money. Both Mercedes glued together. Right here is where that car went over on Thursday night.
That gives you an idea of how brave those two Mercedes drivers are. Schneider, of course, in that lead car, and Dumbrek in the second one, both of them running right up behind the cars in front, knowing what had happened to Webber in that same spot. They want a piece of this second place here and are pushing very hard to get just that.
That's the Boots and McNish car. Ralph Kellner's also driving with them. Two Mercedes right behind them. BMW coming up again behind. This is the quick rundown out of Arnage up to the Porsche curves. Very fast here. Up again to 200 miles an hour, just right about here as you swing through that little left-hand kink before taking this first right-hander of the Porsche curves. Just these are some of the great corners. Very fast right, terrifically fast left-hander over a bridge right here. We see it over that bridge. Then it turns into another right-hander, which is an off-camber corner, and the cars want to push wide in as the day goes on and the rubber picks up. Then this really fast left-hander onto the straight run back towards the pit area here with a couple of very fast kinks and then two really slow chicanes right before the start-finish line. It's a very technical course. There's a lot goes on.
And David, watching the cars, you can see how hard they're pushing. You think of a 24-hour race as being an endurance race, but the cars are so reliable these days that the drivers, you see right over the curvings and everything, they push them as hard as you would push a Formula 1 car.
Something flying up there.
Seconds of what they could qualify at.
Now that Panoz that took that BMW out there at turn 1, which we saw right here just on the first lap of the race, that was the Johnny O'Connell car. So let's hope it didn't damage his car as he went across that gravel. There is the Panoz driven by David Brabham, which qualified so well on both Wednesday and Thursday.
And you see the open Audis outpacing the Audi coupes. Audi has 4 cars in the race, 2 of them open, 2 of them coupes, and for some reason the open cars are outperforming the coupes. And we'll talk, oh boy, look at that.
Oh, Schneider
really giving it the stick there. We'll talk in a little while about the difference in the rules between the open and closed cars, but right now, as you can see, the first 4 cars are all closed coupes, and the first open car is that BMW you see just disappearing over the ride.
For a battle a little bit deeper in the pack, there is that lead of the Mercedes cars right now.
Notice the way, Greg, the Mercedes is bumping up and down. It doesn't look real stable on the road compared to the Toyotas. Now, the Porsche GT1s that won the race here last year had that same look, that short coupled bouncy look. So it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the source of their aerodynamic problems. It's just a point. They are obviously very different in the way they're suspended than these Toyotas, which just run with such a stable look to them.
Well, the new CLR Mercedes is, you know, it has some similarities, of course, to the CLK that ran last year, but it is virtually a brand new car.
buffeted around, but he didn't, so they didn't know what they're going to do. But I mean, as you say, millions of dollars of effort into these race cars, and you come here and something simple like your head being buffeted around can make or break your day.
You're looking at the number 7 Yost Audi, currently running in 9th position, chased by the Nissan, the Team Audi, and a BMW. We are a half hour into 24 hours of Le Mans. Welcome back to Le Mans, and our leader, number 1, Martin Brundle in the Toyota. You see right there, exits the pits, and there is the number 6 Mercedes of Bernd Schneider, and they almost collided down in pit lane, and Brundle had to get on the brakes huge. And there is Schneider. He was already heading back out onto the track. Brundle turned out of pit lane, and they almost got together. And no contact, but it looked as though Brundle almost stalled the car. And number 18, that is the Price and Bashir independent BMW V12, has had a quick spin entering the pits.
I think that's Bill Oberlin. Is that Bill Oberlin's helmet? That might be Bashir, who's the owner of the car, with David Price, who runs it for him. Tony Bashir, a very wealthy, really gentleman race driver. That was Michele Alboreto leaving the pits.
Michele Alboreto bringing the number 7 Yost in for a quick stop. We also understand the 50 yard with one of the Nissans. And boy, this is awesome. There is one of the BMWs, and that is the fastest of the BMWs right now. And it is winding its way down that long, famous straightaway.
He's leading the race, of course, now after the pit stop. So the number, that's not the lead car, that's the 15 car. That's lying second at the moment.
He is lapped at 3:41, which is extremely respectable. It's the second fastest lap, or tied for it with the number 1 Toyota. So he is actually moving very well with that BMW. Incidentally, if you want more information, check out the website, www.24h-le-mans.com, and you will be able to keep up with the
remember that
standings and so forth. I'll give you that again a little bit later on, but I thought I handled that pretty smoothly, didn't you?
That was very good.
I'm about as conversant with the internet as good battle for the lead here going on. Bernd Schneider has taken the lead in his Mercedes, and he's being pursued hotly by the 2 Toyotas. You can see the reversal of the early pattern of the race, which had the 2 Toyotas out front and the Mercedes back behind. So Mercedes on the pit stops has turned it on a little bit, and we're having a real race here. This was thought to be possible, and when it was considered that Mercedes might have to withdraw because of the difficulties surrounding one of their cars flipping over twice, we thought that's the end of this race. But now they're racing, and you can see that they're very much an equal for the Toyota, at least at this point, David.
And here we are coming down to this very fast pit. Now look at the front car here, how it bumps over those bumps on the approach. That's what happened to that car of Webber's. The Toyotas look better over those bumps. I noticed as they came down to the Indianapolis complex, the front of the Mercedes looked a bit unstable. It looks to me like their damping could be just a little bit at fault. It's hard to tell, of course, but
I also noticed too, David, on the turn into the Porsche curves, Schneider's Mercedes, when he turned in, he was sliding the car quite a bit in.
Those 2 Toyotas
are just on rails. So he seems to be working, I think, harder. The interesting thing is, the best lap turn thus far was by Brundle in the early going at a 3:37.2. Schneider, just a little bit ago, was the first car to join the Toyotas in the 3:37 range, and he now has the second fastest lap at a 3:37.79. So he's definitely quick. But just in looking at it, and I mean, use it.
But he's trying hard, I think.
Yes.
And of course, this is not just a battle for manufacturers here. This is a battle for nationalities. Of course, Germany, the strongest nation in the European Union. Japan, of course, a huge powerhouse economically on its own. Toyota, the 3rd biggest manufacturer of cars in the world. Daimler, Chrysler, part of which is Mercedes, is 4th. So a huge amount is at stake here. And of course, a major battle amongst the tires here. Michelin on the Toyotas, the French tire, and of course the Goodrich, the Bridgestone on the Mercedes.
Here's a look at the number 2 Toyota Motorsports Toyota that is currently running in the 2nd spot, and you'll notice that the number 1 entry is right behind it. Watch what happened here. You can see Bernd Schneider coming up on one of the Riley and Scott cars. He had a pretty big lead, but David, it all went away because of a very hairy moment.
It did. He tries to go around the outside of his car, realizes he isn't going to make it, and look at this locking up there, smoke coming off the back tires. Bernd Schneider's heartbeat raising rapidly there, loses a lot of momentum, but does not quite lose the lead.
That is not what's happening at the front right now, Andrew, even though they're lapping in the 340, 341, 342 second range, David. As you can see on the video, we've just had a change for the lead going into that first Mulsanne chicane.
Well, a bit of traffic got them there as they came down there, and the Thierry Boutsen car, the number 2 car here, you see him getting right tucked in under the wing there, gets a good draft as they come down to that chicane, pulls up along the inside, blocks the turn for Bernd Schneider, and takes away the lead. Now is he going to be able to pull away?
Interestingly, too, I mean, even though Schneider was driving the wheels off that car, trying to stay in front, doing everything he could, when they got into that pass zone, he didn't make it difficult at all. I mean, you're not going to risk this early in the race doing something silly to block for the lead. He gave plenty of room.
This is a great battle for the lead, gentlemen. 3 cars covered by just less than a second here. 2 works cars from Toyota and 1 Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes questionable whether they were even going to run. There was talk all through the morning after that car of Mark Webber's flipped that they might withdraw the cars, but they didn't, and now we have got a great long-distance race on our hands.
And Bernd Schneider, when that's his job, working hard now, he does it, and he's been doing that here. Look at that. We're watching. That is the gap, 1st to 4th. That is it right there.
A little bit of Teutonic humor found its way into that there.
Yeah, it did, didn't it?
Horner's named the wrong name.
Bernd Schneider is one of the fittest men I have ever seen. I don't think he's got an ounce of fat on him.
I haven't got an ounce of fat on him at all. His body fat must be just 0. But look at this now, that Toyota in 3rd spot. Only just behind him is the number 17 BMW. There it is. That's the 4th. There's 1st through 4th at the end of an hour and 25 minutes. That's not too bad.
3 makes in the first 4 places. 2 of them German, 1 of them Japanese.
And Tom Christensen giving that car an absolute ride here. In traffic is being seen here frequently. That's the number 2 Toyota that was leading by about almost 2 seconds. That's gone. It got caught up behind one of the slower GTS cars, and Schneider got a real run, brought Brundle with him. They worked by that car. The BMW got stuck. Oh, and our 1st and 2nd place cars make the move into pit lane. Thierry Boutsen in the number 2 Toyota Team Europe entry, and Bernd Schneider coming in again in the AMG Mercedes. And boy, this is the battle is going to go on here in terms of fast pit stops and pit times in pit lane.
And of course, it's so hard to rush the pit stops with all that doing the fuel first. Only 4 people are allowed to work on the car, except somebody can help the driver, and a technician can plug in and get data, retrieve data out of the car. So it's a fairly complex. They look awfully slow.
This will be a 2nd stop for both. Andrew.
Yeah, well, down here the number 2 car has come in. Thierry Boutsen has climbed out of the car. Little element dish, they have to adjust the seat a bit. He's being strapped into the car. Joanna Moss, who is actually the race engineer for this car, she's there. She had a big smile across her face just before the car came in. So they're obviously happy. They will take a tyre change. The fuel is still pumping in at the moment. And I'll come back to you a little later, hopefully with Thierry Boutsen. Alan.
Oh, it's really exciting down here now because we've got both car 6 and car 5. Both the Mercedes are in. Just routine pit stops, of course, but they've got to wait while they put the fuel in before they can change the tyres. Car 6 came in first. It's already got all its fuel in. Its tyres are on, and everything's looking pretty good. Andrew, what have you got for us?
Yeah, well, this pit stop continues here. Obviously, they take just about a minute when they're changing the tyres. The door is just being slammed now. Everyone is moving back, and I think the car... Yeah, Alan, how's it with you?
Well, it's pretty good down here. The number 6 car's left. That's Mercedes number 6. Just routine, filled it up with fuel, changed all the tyres, off it's gone. The 2nd car, number 5, they filled it with fuel. The tyres are going on. Everything's looking pretty good. How about you, Andrew?
Yeah, well, our car's left this pit as well, but I think the lead changed during that series of pit stops there. So what a battle is going on down here at Le Mans. What a tremendous start.
Well, that's exactly right, Greg, you see, and the whole point about Mercedes-Benz, they don't go racing to come 2nd. And although they've had this horrible misfortune of the car flipping in 2 sessions, which we've all heard about and we've seen, nasty, nasty business, you cannot underestimate Mercedes. So whatever Toyota think they can do here, they better get on with it, because the very simple fact is that Mercedes-Benz are not to be taken lightly. Andrew, how's that lead Toyota going?
Well, it's just coming. I'm actually standing here with Ralph Kellner, who, of course, has twice missed winning Le Mans so closely. He's watching this pit stop with me. Everything seems to be going very nicely, Ralph.
Everything looks nice so far, but as you can see, we're fighting hard with Mercedes and BMW. So we're going to see what the next 2 hours going to bring, and then it's going to cool down. People maybe change for tires, so we're going to wait for that now.
It's a very, very big fight. We didn't expect Mercedes to be right there.
Well, we were also hoping that they maybe would be a little bit slower, but you can see that Mercedes is always working very hard and that their performance is great.
Martin Brundle's just got out of the car. Did you see who went in? What was the schedule saying?
Kolar is in the car now.
Okay, so that's it right from one of our drivers here. And, well, Callinas twice he came close to winning this race. Maybe it's his year.
Well, perhaps that program certainly seems very, very strong. The #1 Toyota, oh, very slow. Boy, it looks like that car is struggling to simply make it out of pit lane. And Andrew, what's going on?
Well, that's absolutely right. It did stall twice, but it is now away and no problems. They seem to get a little hot. We've seen this a couple of times with the Toyotas. Doesn't seem to be any consternation here.
About problems that Mercedes has been having, we've alluded to it, and it all came in the form of their #4 car. They had 3 entered here, and in the qualifying, of course they qualify here Wednesday and Thursday. In Thursday qualifying, #4, look at this car. Didn't look bad from the front, but Mark Webber had the car flip on him, and you can see he was carried off. It was precautionary. He ended up fine, if not a little sore and stiff. Then in the warm-up this morning, in a different part of the track, it flipped again by itself. No contact, just running up behind a car and over a rise. It went over once again. It created, there's Norbert Haug of Mercedes. There was a great deal of consternation. Should they run the cars? Should they withdraw them all? Mark Webber, of course, had to be concerned, and he has to feel a bit like a cat who's using up lives, because in free qualifying, going into one of the Mulsanne chicanes, as they had to withdraw it, they closed the doors there, Sam, and Webber in free qualifying, going into one of the Mulsanne turns, the chicanes had a suspension pickup point pull apart and had a huge shunt then. It has been very problematic, not just for Webber, but certainly so far this week for Mercedes. Welcome back once again, and you watch the fastest of the Toyotas right now, sitting second in about 5.5 seconds adrift of the lead BMW. The Toyota started by Thierry Boutsen, and now it is, I believe, Alan McNish, as Andrew said, is now behind the wheel. And there you can see the margin from the world feed, about 5.4 seconds. It is trailing the BMW, and it has, though, remarkably, about a 15-second lead over the Mercedes that was started by Schneider, and we're wondering what happened there. Speaking of which, we are watching up at the front. That is your leader at the bottom of your screen, the #17 BMW. Not long ago, it had a 5-second lead over the #2 Toyota. It is now down to 9/10 of a second, Sam, and the race is back. And right now, Alan McNish is absolutely flying in that Toyota.
Well, remember, Alan McNish won the race last year. He was a standout driver on the winning Porsche, and it's done all sorts of good things for his reputation. And he joined the Toyota team by, he was really lent to them by Porsche, but he's a fully motivated young, a little bit earlier on. The other Mercedes, #6, is still in the pits. That's the Schneider Lamy Lagorce car. Now it's out. The Mercedes are running 4th and 5th just at the moment behind the BMW and the pair of Toyotas. So the early promise of the Mercedes has kind of been replaced by the hard push. Look, here's the battle for the lead between the BMW on the right and the Toyota, who appears to be taking the BMW on top speed. David, we expected this, but that's a nice clean pass.
That was a great pass as they come again down into that very fast, well, not so fast left-hander, but through that incredibly fast right-hander leading up to the Indianapolis complex. Down to Arnage. This is the battle for the lead. Look at that, 1-2. You can't get much closer than that after 2.25 hours of racing, 35 laps gone.
No, and they are coming up to the Porsche curves where the BMW has an advantage. It's a slight one over the Toyota, and of course you see traffic too. So this is a very, very fluid situation. Look for that Cyclops light on the BMW just ahead of the driver. It isn't as bright as the others because I think they still have the protective coating over it, but it is switched on at the moment. Notice it catching the BMW, catching the bulkier Toyota.
I don't think that Viper saw the second car there.
Nope, I agree with you.
So easy to do. He saw the Toyota coming, moved over a little bit, did not see the BMW right behind it.
They're running fast, but they're way back. It's that intense.
It is very intense, and you can see that now on the monitor, on the screen, as the number 2 Toyota is being hounded by one of the Mercedes. And I mean, this is the kind of action we've seen, and you can see it. It is definitely closing in on nightfall here. That soft light of dusk, and those headlights are absolutely blaring as those two cars head into the chicane, and that is the number 2 Toyota sitting in second, and the number 5 Mercedes in third. And we have seen this type of action the whole time. Meanwhile, serenely out front, the BMW, and we hate to jinx it, but the BMW is just continuing to lap. But oh, here goes the Mercedes trying to find a way by.
Somebody slow go. Ooh, I wouldn't have done that.
That's brave.
That was very brave for him to pull down the inside there with a white flag being waved, because you never know what's just over that brow. 20 Here's the Nissan in the pit.
Yeah, that's the Courage 52 with the Nissan engine, Kotaz, Goosens, and Ekblom. We also had a brief shot of a wounded Porsche, the number 66 car, trying to find its way back into the pits with a left rear tire that was messed up. Meanwhile, here is that battle once again, and that Porsche obviously blundered the attack by the Mercedes, but it has gone again!
My God, there it is. It's into the trees.
Right.
Unbelievable. That is what we have seen twice already this weekend, and that one went off track.
That is just devastating. They, of course, will have to withdraw instantly the other car. There's no question of doing it now. We have just seen one of the most dramatic moments that you will ever see. It's the second time in history that a Mercedes has actually left the track here. The other time back in 1955 with disastrous results. The other two times here in the last few days, the car actually stayed within the bounds of the track, but this one is off in the woods.
Here's the replay, and again...
Mercedes right behind the Toyota, just in that dead air area. And
look at that. That's exactly the terror of it. Fortunate it did not hit the bridge, but you can see how high up it got.
Whoa.
It looks like it may have landed on its wheels. This could have a happy ending yet, but of course it's much too early to say. Get the other car off the track.
3 full flips in that car, and that is just terrible. I'm not sure exactly who was behind the wheel. I don't want to make a guess at it. Let's watch it again, and it's an uphill approach here, and it's just right here. I mean, there's no rise here. It just took off right there.
There is a crest of a hill there, Greg. It's very slight, but it's enough.
Oh, indeed.
That is one of the unforgettable images.
Good Lord alive, look at that. Straight into those trees.
In that car? Can you imagine being in that car?
It doesn't look as if he hit any big trees, hopefully not.
And again, you pointed out that it landed. Oh, and let's go down to Andrew. The number 6 is in.
Yeah, the number 6 is coming now dropping the door, as you can see, and that's it. And I would say the Mercedes-Benz effort is over. Oh, what a horrible, horrible accident. We'll bring you an update on that, but that is the end of Mercedes-Benz here. Obviously, the wrong decision to actually race.
5 feet from the highest point of his trajectory.
We're going to look at it here, and I think it's just coming up here. The road rises, and then it drops just a little bit. Sam, you pointed that out. Right about there, you can see that it drops, and right there, the nose goes up.
Boy, it's unbelievable. Just out of the air of that car in front of it.
Right there.
Spinning through those trees. Hopefully, he landed on some small trees, which may have cushioned the impact.
From second place, a minute 2 at the time of the yellow behind. Oh, and it is going straight into the garage as well. The number 2 Toyota, the lone Toyota that was running competitively at the very front, is making a stop, taking advantage of the yellow. But to even think about going in, I mean, that's a loss of some serious track position.
Well, if they can but if they can change the gearbox in 7 or 8 minutes, they're only going to lose that.
That's very true. Andrew,
look at that shot.
Yeah, well, the back's just come off the car, just trying to see if they're going to do the same sort of change to the gearbox. It's too early to tell. There are mechanics all around. I have to tell you, the number 1 car is still there being worked on. Obviously, this will help them a little bit with this yellow car period, but they're actually putting the bodywork up, so we can't see exactly what's happening here. At the moment, they're certainly doing things like cleaning the windscreen, but it's very difficult to see if they are actually working on the rear transmission.
Andrew, you said as the rear bodywork came off the 2 car, we saw right next to you the bodywork going back on the number 1 Zent entry. And so that is obviously... Let's go back down to Andrew.
Yeah, we're down here in the pits. The number 1 car is now back on pit lane. They are changing the tyres. Martin Brundle is at the wheel, and he is going to go out in just a moment. And it looks as if the bodywork is going back onto the other car, the number 2 car. So that wasn't such a major problem, obviously. Maybe they were just checking that gearbox thing, but it did come in very quickly. Alan McNish, we were just about to talk to, he suddenly brushed us aside because obviously it was a big drama, and we're being pushed around a bit around here. But it does look as if it's not such a serious situation with number 2, but I will endorse exactly what Alan said about that Peter Dumbreck incident.
Was it?
Welcome back to Le Mans, and that is the shot overhead. That is where the Mercedes ended up, and as you can see, it indeed cleared the big trees and ended into landed in a hollow, and it did appear to end up right side up. It rotated quite a bit, of course, but it is parked right there, and as you said, it is not in any big area. But you can see just to about the middle of the screen to the right, there is a big area. That's where it hit, bounced, and then stopped. So it definitely got away off the track, but it was carrying a heck of a lot of speed, and it got awfully high at the same time.
You know what it looks like? An aircraft accident.
But then landing in those trees like that and sliding backwards through the trees, it would be losing energy all the time. So hopefully Mr. Dumbrecht's in pretty good shape. There's a very good chance, I think, that he's going to be A-OK, because it certainly lost a lot of speed in
and they were able to get
quite
to
a
it
few
easily
feet.
too. Look, David, the door basically was either torn off or just openable there. That looks pretty good. The car's just sitting there. I mean, it looks a lot worse than it really is.
I think so, and let's check in once again with Andrew.
Yeah, just very quickly here, I'm just being urged out of the Toyota garage. The number 1 car has come back in again, and they've got the bodywork off, and they're looking at the transmission, so obviously that problem has not been solved. Back to you in the booth.
All right, and you can see the work continuing on that number 1 entry as they are back. But the interesting thing to me is as the car landed, it landed back first, and it seems to have somehow turned around because as they're working on the car, the back of the car is facing the left of the screen. So when it hit, it must have somehow pivoted and landed like that. But the fact that it's right side up, of course, always great news. Welcome back once again to Le Mans, and Peter Dumbreck is now on board the ambulance, and of course will be taken immediately to the medical center. Again, we hasten to point out that obviously we're speculating here, but that car, as Alan DeCadney said before we went to break, and what we can see of it, Sam, the driver's cell looks fine, and they now have Peter on, as we said, on board the ambulance, and he will be taken to be checked out. Of course, we'll update you as we get information, certainly. We are back to green. We are back to racing at Le Mans. And one of the interesting things with this yellow is now we look at the front of the pack. There is your leader, the number 17 BMW. And it will be running on a clear track for a long, long time. This will be very interesting to see.
Well, it's going to be running on a track for a fairly long time, although the speed these guys are going, they're going to start picking up their back markers fairly soon. But of course that caution period allowed the second place Toyota to catch up a little bit. It's now only half a minute behind, which after that long stop to change the discs is actually pretty remarkable.
Oh, they did a great job, and as you pointed out, taking that opportunity during the yellow, they didn't go down a lap, they come right back at it, and so they're right in the hunt. The BMW, the team BMW, is third, and one of the Nissans. We've been very quiet about those Nissans because they really hadn't been much of a player, and they suddenly find themselves up in fourth. That's the Nismo entry, the Nissan R391, which is actually one of the built cars, and that is doing an exceptional job in fourth.
And look at its best lap time. This is the extraordinary thing, a 3:39.8. That compares extremely favorably with what everybody else is running. Now, rain is not out of the question, although the darkest clouds have moved off across the track and on to the east, so I'm kind of hopeful it won't rain.
Real quick, just wanted to point out, we're looking now at the number 22 Nissan. We had remarked a little earlier that we really hadn't seen much of the Nissans as they've been back in the pack, but with some of the developments, and you pointed out the pace, they have now been running at 340s quite consistently, and they are fourth overall at this stage, and only one lap back, and on the same lap as the third place BMW.
It's incredible. Last year, the Nissans had a wonderful finish in, I think it was 4th, 5th, and 6th, or 3rd, 4th, and 5th, whatever it was. They finished with their whole team intact, but they had set the pace too slow. They obviously regretted after the fact that they had not pushed harder. And this year, it looks as if At first I thought, oh, they're making the same mistake, but they obviously turned it on after the first hour and are right in contention now. I think it's fantastic.
What a race we've been seeing. I'll tell you right away that the BMW, the number 17 car of Christensen, Leto and Muller, continues to lead. The best of the Toyotas, the Boots and Kelleners McNish car, that is currently second. And in fact, about 2 hours ago, Alan McNish put in a tremendous stint. He got within about 40 seconds of that lead BMW. But now that gap has widened a little bit. It's just about 2.5 minutes right now as he passes. Then in third place, another BMW. In fourth place, Toyota, then Audi, then another BMW, and then Nissan, and then Audi, BMW, and a Lola, the Kramer Lola, round out the top 10. Check out what happened to Martin Brundle. Hot he is into the chicane. Dorsey, you read it for me.
Fastest part of the course, he has a right rear tire delaminate. You saw it right there. It puts him into a wild spin. Martin, I talked to him. He said he was scared to death he was going to go into that barrier head on. He knew it was going to hurt if he did. But he did a good job of controlling this thing. You see it right here. He has no tire whatsoever. It's cut down. Unfortunately, he drove on that flat tire until it grounded, and the tire came off and wrapped around suspension, and it took him completely out of the race.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he got all the way down to what is effectively the last corner. There's Martin there looking pretty unhappy. He got down to the Arnage corner. It's about a mile from the pits, so he didn't quite make it. And obviously, if he had made it, they could have fixed that, and he must be so disappointed.
Those fans out there to cool the wheel bearings and brake rotors and keep the fluid from boiling while that car's sitting still in the pits.
Yeah, so that's all going on. We still worry about Thierry Boutsen. And at the front now, our monitor's just updated itself, showing that the number 17 car, which has just been taken over by Jörg Müller, is leading by a big margin for a Le Mans of recent years. 3 laps, 177 laps down to the 17 car. In second place is the number 15 car. And actually, I think there's a bit of a problem going on here, because this car has not yet accelerated away. Maybe we'll get back to Di and see what's happening. A pat on the helmet. I think they were doing some other work, so they had a little chat. Yeah, Di.
Hi, Andrew. Yeah, I'm just going to have a quick word with Tom Christensen. He has just actually gotten off the car. They've not finished the bolts on the wheels, so we're just waiting for him. I'll come back to you in a second with Tom.
Yeah, you see that little steering wheel there? Formula One technology in that. As we said, this car built by Williams Grand Prix Engineering, designed by Graham Humphreys, who's been coming here for many years, designed some of the Spices, which raced here in the late 80s and early 90s. A very talented designer, and he's done there. Dorsey.
We're hearing, I just heard a report from some of the corner crews that saw this incident, and they said that the 66 Porsche made contact with Thierry Boutsen's Toyota right there in turn 1. It caught him in the right rear corner and put him into that spin. Of course, at over 130 or 40 miles per hour, that would be a huge accident. So we're hearing reports of a 66 Porsche involvement in this accident that sent Thierry Boutsen into the wall so hard.
Yeah, I think that would make sense to me. Just to carry on with our rundown. The lead at the moment by some 3 laps by the Christensen, Leto and Muller car from the Winkelhock, Martini and Daumer similar BMW. And then it's the Audi, the number 8 car, has moved all the way up into third place. So, well, the thrill goes on here at Le Mans. It is BMW very much in the ascendant here. Toyota, the last hour's been bad for them. We'll be back in just a couple of moments here on. The action continues here at Le Mans. They are still under yellow. It's been half an hour now, Dorsey Schrader, since that yellow came out, the Thierry Boutsen accident, which wiped out that particular Toyota, the number 2 car. Number 1 car has also gone, so BMW first and second currently. Some fun and games still down in the fairground. The big wheel has stopped mine.
Number 21, currently running in 7th, being pushed back into the garage. You see the standings there, and I think this gives you an idea of just how far ahead the 2 BMWs are. But as Alan de Cadenet just pointed out, Alan, they are cranking it on. They're the 2 fastest cars on the track. Why? The Toyota that's pursuing them is not as quick as they are.
Well, they're keeping up a kind of what we might call a bogey pace. Each of those BMs has got 3 very, very capable, young, fit, healthy drivers in there. and they would rather keep up a pace that they know the car's capable of than start to get overconfident. The more of a lead they can draw out, then the more time they have for any unforeseen mishaps. It's the typical scenario at Le Mans, isn't it, Sam, where if you can pull out a nice lead, keep the pace on. There's no need with that car to actually have to back off. They might as well keep the pace on, build up a substantial lead. What I think, though, is that car 8, the Audi, the Yost Audi, that's catching that Toyota up. I think we may see Audi move up into third spot within the next session or two.
Which is leading the race, number 15, which is in second place, 3 laps behind, and then just 1 lap behind the second place car is the third place Toyota, driven by the 3 Japanese. And then we are down into 4th place with the Audi, which is moving quickly right now and starting to move up on that Toyota. So we have a move by Audi, the Reinhold Jost run Audi moving up toward the 3rd place car. Then the Bill Oberlin BMW in 5th, another Audi down in 6th. That's another Reinhold Jost car. The Panoz in 7th, the Nissan, the Courage, and then the trio of Vipers running 10th, 11th, and 12th, and dominating their class. So the action really is up front at this point. A fairly tense situation which will be played out, I think, over the next 2 or 3 hours, involving the second place BMW under attack, particularly by the Audi down in 4th place.
Breaking car that poor old Bernd Rosemeyer lost his life in, unfortunately, back in 1937 there, but that kind of rounded nose, that is very much a sort of auto union, which is now Audi, of course.
This is a real battle, by the way. A very, very close action among contenders. The Toyota there in 3rd place, the Bill Oberlin BMW in 5th place. The Audi, I'm not sure which one that is, but there's an Audi involved which is running either right with them or just behind them. So we have a real on-the-track battle here for position. They're a lap or two separated, but this is a bit of a fraught situation.
Yeah, it's the 4th place Audi.
4th place Audi, which is car number 8. That has 226 laps. The Oberlin BMW 2 laps back at 224, and the other Audi at 221. The Toyota at 227. So just 3 laps separate these 3 cars.
Apparently an absolutely remarkable run.
Well, it's having a great run. Of course, the number 3 Toyota that when you and I left last night was languishing about 10 laps off the pace, has pulled up some of that time, but of course the number 1 and the number 2 car are now out. The Audi, the 8 Audi is doing well. The 18 BMW with Bill Oberlin and Soper has just had a bit of bother, but it's running there in good 5th spot. But in 6th spot is the Panoz, the number 12 car, currently the fastest car on the track. He's cranking off laps in the high 30s, 3:39 he just did a few moments ago. He's doing a 3:42 as his last lap. He is one of the quickest cars out there at the moment, so hopefully the Panoz will make up a bit of time there.
Christensen coming up behind one of the Audis. I'm not sure if that's the Audi.
Must be the 8 car, I think.
Yeah, he just moved by. But you had talked about, you know, you've been racing now for some 16.5 hours. You get offline a little bit. There's debris, there's marbles, there's stuff. You get blinded and you miss your turn in. What's going to happen?
That is another very important issue as this race progresses. We did mention this yesterday afternoon. But as you get offline later on in the day, there's so much rubber and so much debris gets onto the track that as the fast guys have to lap the slow ones, the slow guys, of course, never going to move offline because they know what it's like. So when you're lapping them, you're forced to go to the outside, to the difficult bit of the track, and it's where you're going to be really, really careful. And in spite of the fact that these guys have got the most incredibly luxurious motorhomes to sleep in and relax in, and they have masseurs and they have doctors and they have great health food and drink to keep them going. You know, when you've been driving out there at that sort of clip for, you know, 12 hours.
There. Now the leader is off. Look at this.
Big development, and that is the number 17 BMW that has been leading. It has had nary a flaw, and suddenly it is off to the right side of your screen, left side of the track. The entire nose of that car is gone, and the driver is still on board. They're trying to figure it out. They're readying. There's the garage. They're readying a nose. Question is, can they get that car back into the pits? And can it be done by just the driver? There is a corner marshal and they are giving some assist. Now the question is, you know, the rules are so iffy here on this. He may have been shaken up.
I think he's had an accident. He's definitely had an accident.
He's not looking, yeah.
He's hurting. And obviously the nose is missing because of contact with something.
That's Christensen.
Like the wall. Tom Christensen, 31, from Denmark, his 3rd year at Le Mans. He won here as a rookie. And of course he won Sebring earlier this year. What an incredible blow.
All right, we're going to take a look. Here is number 17. Now watch this. This is number 51. That's the Viper car. Now this is what we had in the world feed just moments ago. There is the lead Viper. And this is what they cut to, and it was just sitting here, and you could see Christensen in some distress. And now they've got him out on the side pod and just stretched him out.
Oh,
and
this is just terrible. I mean, not only is the lead car out, but Christensen is none the better for the experience. That, of course, puts their teammate, number 15, into the lead, but it gives, that is to say, it will in 3 laps. But the Toyota right now has a real chance to win because he is showing on the same lap. The number 3 Toyota is on the same lap as the number 15.
I wonder what on earth happened to that 17 car. He must have got caught up in some sort of a traffic situation, and the car doesn't look badly damaged at all. I mean, it's lost its nose, but I mean, the wheels are okay in the front. The front of the monocoque looked okay.
Does the right front wheel, David, I know this angle isn't showing it. I thought I saw some camber that looked a little bit weird to me, like it might have been struck on the right front wheel, and that led to the bodywork. Boy, it's really one thing when you got 2 cars out there running for you, and then suddenly you've just got one, and that one's under attack. Do you think there's any chance, by the way, that the Toyota men would put one of their faster guys in with the Japanese drivers?
I'm wondering that, although the Japanese drivers
doing awful well.
Seem to be holding their end up pretty well. I mean, they still keep cranking.
Just indicated to the quarter marshal, he gave him a thumbs up, and
his
I think
left leg's okay.
He might. Well, we're going to see here. See if he tries to step in, get the car in, and as you said, if there's not severe damage, I don't know.
His right leg. Ooh.
It's definitely tender. He wants to get out and walk.
No, it works though.
So somehow or other, he has had a crash. I mean,
of course, now again, you were saying the host broadcaster. Obviously, the amount of cameras and tape machines they've got here is awesome. But you can't video and record every car, every inch of every lap, and it could but we just
look. He's walking.
He's taken his helmet off too. So
he's
is that
walking.
Christensen or is that JJ Leto? Looks like JJ's late. It is JJ Leto.
It is JJ.
It is Leto. So that helmet, boy, it messed us up again, as Andrew Marriott alluded to. Lots of different paint jobs on that helmet. There is one of the drivers getting ready to go into the Ferrari. And I hate to say this, and it comes certainly at the expense of JJ Leto, Christensen, and Mueller, who had put in a simply stunning drive. But in that lap and a half now, the lead battle goes instead from a 4-lap deficit to the leader to a 1:28 deficit to the leader, because that's the gap between the
3 hours and
9
minutes left.
Well, and Yannick, if you recall, aside from his big incident at the Petit Le Mans when with Porsche the car blew over on him, in pre-qualifying here for this year's Le Mans, he had a massive incident
when he lost the nose.
Indianapolis, when the nose came off the car.
Exactly.
So
look at that, the lap now, the gap as the Toyota crosses the line for the first time after he stopped. The gap down to 57.9 seconds between first and second, with only 3 hours of racing left.
And interestingly, David, I'm watching here, the battle for 4th is on as well. The number 18 BMW, I caught a glimpse of that car from where we are up here during all of these developments early on. That car was backed into the garage for a little while with Soper behind the wheel. It has come out. It is now, it had lost a number of laps to the 3rd place. Perhaps one of the stories of the event unfolding. Pierluigi Martini brings the lead BMW into the pits for what we suspect will be its 2nd to the last stop, not its last. This could be very interesting. Andrew?
Yes, I'm here to have a look at this final pit stop. We're trying to stay calm, as exactly all the drivers and team members are. Yannick Dalmitz looks on. Look, Yannick talks there to Pierluigi Martini, who nods his head, the thumbs up. Look at Yannick there just looking in and now walking away. Not quite sure why he's wearing that silly woolly hat. He probably thinks he's going skiing. But he's certainly not doing that. He's probably going to win a motor race. And the fuel continues to go in. And of course their next pit stop will be just a splash and dash. But this is a full fuel up. The Dell sponsored car. Off it goes, a very quick stop. And no fresh tyres. They were out here. And let's go back to the booth.
Andrew, with that stop, once things cycle through for just a few minutes, the margin will probably be down into the 30-second mark. But then the Toyota, at about a quarter past, we expect will have to stop. But then, according to David Hobbs, within the last 15 minutes, certainly the BMW will have to stop again. If it has not stopped for a top-up at that point, it is going to be a very fascinating follow-up. And Alan DeCadney, that is part of the tension that is most clearly building here at Le Mans.
20 seconds to change the tyres. You'd have to be going pretty slowly to lose that same 20 seconds out on the track. Is the Toyota going slowly here?
No. It's very careful. Bill Oberlin at the wheel, almost cutting the Toyota off there. That's a critical move by Bill Oberlin. Very much a BMW team man, and you will see Katayama being blocked by Bill Oberlin. I don't know if this is really the right... Well, Bill Oberlin was getting around that 911. I think he's just being awful crafty, and Katayama can't be liking it, I'll tell you. I wouldn't be surprised if he shakes his fist as he goes by. We're probably not going to see that, but whoa, that was a close one there, particularly this late in the game. Bill Oberlin, driving for BMW, running in fifth place, just very nearly became a big part of the story here.
Well, you know, I was watching that, and Katayama came up, moved over, was not alongside, went back behind him, and Oberlin could very well have thought at that point, okay, he's going to get me on the exit of the chicane. He stayed wide. It was a very late dive to the inside. Katayama made the move there as we're watching the replay from the world feed. But as you said, Sam, Oberlin was coming up on a slower car, and it's not written anywhere that he has to make it easy. He just has to make it possible.
Well, that probably cost him quite a bit of time, but with the way the track is going at the moment, he may now get a couple of laps where he doesn't see a car. Obviously, we can't see anything out the front of his car, so hopefully he's going to get a couple.
Oh,
tyre gone.
He did. There it is. There it is. He may have touched.
That's the race.
The left rear corner, and what a brilliant save by Katayama. Look at him hunting in the mirrors to make sure that
he may get around to the pits.
Come up on him. Boy, he is going to try exactly what, I mean, the shades of Brundle earlier that just let go.
Well, that's the race right there.
Unbelievable. There, the Toyota crew springs to life. And
do you think that came about as a result of a touch with Oberlin?
It looked like he got through clean when he did make the pass.
Okay, you see the tension there with Yannick Damas. It's not finished. He's absolutely right, of course.
Well, I mean, keep in mind,
you know, you got to remember superstition is huge among racing drivers. I mean, to acknowledge yourself as the winner with 45 minutes to go would be against the grain of every driver that I've ever met.
The Toyota's in. Let's go down to Alan.
Yeah, that Toyota's made really, really good time in here. He's just coming straight into the pits now. There's the tyres. It's completely flat. It's chewed up a bit of the rear bodywork. Oh, it's a tragedy for them, but they'll have it right. They're putting fuel in. Now, that's interesting. They're topping the car up with fuel, first of all, before they do anything else. They've got brand new tyres and wheels out here, all ready to go. This is the last thing in the world they wanted. It is such a shame for them. Guys were going like rockets, and this is what happens. It's really, really bad luck. That's exactly really what happened to Brundle, of course. He had an explosion on the left rear there, and that's what put him out the race. Katayama caught it. There's a lot of action down here, as you can see. There's hundreds of cameramen and journalists all swilling around, and the Toyota pit crew, they're all out in force. This is something they can handle out the front here, though, don't worry. There's a lot of shoving and pushing around here for cameras to get in. It's a bit of a rat race. However, they're just putting a brand new rear tyre on the back there. I don't think there's any damage to the suspension. That's the most important thing of all. That's the most important thing of all. The suspension looks fine. The bodywork's not that bad. They can probably tape it up. Andrew?
I'm just thinking back to what Yannick Damas said. Did you see the passion when he said, it's not over, it's not over? That's a man that knows how to win 3 of these Le Mans races. He knows that this race is never over until that flag comes down.
Well, that's true, isn't it? Let's keep in mind that certainly nobody expected this to happen to this car and nobody expected what happened to the number 17 BMW when it was leading to happen either. It happens in racing, and it can happen with 10 minutes to go.
They got a problem under there. Something is damaged. They're not looking very happy.
Well, I can tell you, I don't think it's a question of more men. They're only allowed to have so many men working at one time, as we know, when the car is outside the pits here rather than inside. But they're cool. They're being very cool about this. They've got everything sorted out now. He's just connected up that racing wire. That panel is on. The cam locks are down. I can see the little tool going in there. He's twisting them to the right, locking them up. He's taping over them, make sure they don't come out. The car's full of fuel, don't forget, it's already been done. Looks a pretty workmanlike job to me. The rear wheel's going back on now. There it goes. Brand new tire. Wheel nuts going on. The back's going on. They're cool. They're doing this thing very, very deliberately. No panic. If it is, it's controlled. It looks good to me. Everything's fitting nicely. Do you know, this car now looks as if it never had an accident, except it's got a nice, bright, shiny new panel.
Still 5 laps ahead of third, and that's obvious what's in their mind.
Absolutely right. 5 laps clear. That's crucial, certainly, at this point. And that would be the Audi that sits in third right now. And there goes Katayama. And while Alan was calling that stop, we went to the replay, and the camera just happened to pan to Katayama as that tire let go. What a remarkable save he made. You could see him on the wheel all over, trying to hold on and keep that car alive. And now we are back on board with Katayama as he is exiting the pits through the Dunlop chicane and out onto the track. But now the complexion of this race has changed just huge. It's 40 seconds. That's normally about the time with a pit stop in it. So he really didn't want to take this last lap, but he has to. And the marshal's happy for it. The European salute from the corner workers around the track, all the flags flying.
Let me tell you, when you see that, and I say this every year, and it sounds unbelievable, but you cry. It's very hard to fight back the tears. The emotions are so strong. It's fatigue, of course, relief, just the genuineness. David, I don't know if you felt it. Maybe I'm just sloppy emotionally.
No, I mean, it is an amazing sight, this last lap. And in 1969, when X won the race in the GT40, I was driving the second GT40 with Mike Hailwood. We came third, and the incredible outpouring of emotion from myself and from the marshals. And when we got in the pits, everybody was crying, of course, because obviously John Horseman and John Wyer were overwrought because their car had just won the race, and it was a very, very emotional time. And of course, we went back to the Hotel de France that we saw earlier on and continued the emotion well into the early hours of the morning.
Well, of course, when you race, you have to hold your emotions in check. You can't let yourself feel tired. You can't let yourself feel euphoric or sad or anything for the 24 hours. You must merely perform well. And it's suddenly, you can be any way you want, and it's quite an experience.
We have talked at some length since he's been in the car through the finish here of the performance of Pierluigi Martini, but how about Yannick Dalmas, and how about Smokin' Joe Winkelhock, who hasn't been in the car for the last few hours, but was instrumental in keeping this car right in the hunt at the front when opportunity presented itself.
Joe Winkelhock, there again, you got to have a bit of luck. He spun at the top of the hill for no apparent reason this morning, got it in the gravel trap. That car could have so easily got high-sided on that curb, and that would have been the last we'd have seen of number 15. And you've just got to have a bit of luck going with you. You just can't win these races without a large slice of luck.
And this is Yannick Dalmas's 4th Le Mans victory, which puts him in company with Henri Pescarolo and a couple of notches up. Derek Bell at 5, of course, and Jackie Eakes at 6. So suddenly, very quickly, Dalmas getting his victories and becoming a real legend here in Le Mans.
And of course, I think he could be around for many more races here, so he may be the one that will take the run at Bell and perhaps even Eakes. Last couple of times here through a corner, it's the final 2 of the chicane onto the front straight. The winner of the 67th 24 Hours of Le Mans, BMW Motorsport, the Dell BMW, and what a performance by Joe Winkelhock, Pierluigi Martini, and Yannick Dalmas. And look at that, a stop. Joe runs out on the track and slaps the car. What a story for Joe. It's the first time in one of these cars, and he wins.
He's trying to do a Zanardi there.
What a story for the team. This team has gotten the most bang for their Deutschmark you can get. They've done it in an original way, a terrific way, as they so often do at BMW.